She's crazy. She tried to kill me. Looked right at me and stepped on the gas.
Sir, stop right there. Take a breath.
Are you injured?
She missed by inches.
Get her out of that car.
The sound of handcuffs ratcheting tight is usually the end of the story, but in this case, it is the only logical conclusion to a masterclass in deception. You are about to watch a bodycam breakdown of an incident that takes place in the parking lot of a high-end suburban shopping center. It is the kind of place where people worry about property values and HOA violations, not violent crime. But today, the peace is shattered by a man we will call Robert. Robert is a man who believes that his perception of reality is the only one that matters. He believes that if he feels annoyed, a crime has been committed. He believes that if he feels disrespected, the police are his personal enforcement squad designed to punish those who dare to ignore him. On a sunny Tuesday afternoon, Robert calls 911. His voice is shaking, frantic, breathless. He tells the dispatcher that a woman in the parking lot just tried to run him over with her SUV. He screams that it was intentional, that she looked him in the eye and floored the accelerator, and that he barely escaped with his life. This is a call for assault with a deadly weapon. It is a high-priority dispatch. Sirens are activated. Officers drive through red lights, risking their own lives and the lives of the public to get to Robert before this maniac strikes again. But when we arrive, we don't find a shaken victim and a violent aggressor. We find a calm woman sitting in her car, and a man pacing back and forth, rehearsing his lines for the performance of a lifetime. Robert thinks he is the director of this movie. He thinks he can edit the footage in real time by yelling louder than everyone else. But he forgot one crucial detail. In the 21st century, the truth is always being recorded. And Robert is about to learn that you cannot gaslight a 4K camera lens. This is what happens when an unstoppable ego meets the immovable object of forensic evidence. If you love seeing justice served cold and enjoy watching entitled bullies realize they aren't the main character, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel grow and allows us to bring you more of these breakdowns. Now, let's get into the investigation. Officer Miller pulls into the shopping center lot, his cruiser kicking up dust as he brakes hard near the entrance. The dispatch notes are flashing on his laptop screen. Complainant states female subject attempted to strike him with vehicle. Subject is still on scene. Complainant is irate. This is a dangerous setup. Vehicles are 4,000-pound missiles. If someone is using a car as a weapon, the officer has to be ready for deadly force. Miller steps out of his vehicle, hand hovering near his holster, eyes scanning for threats. He sees a black SUV parked perfectly within the lines. Standing about 20 feet away is a middle-aged man in a polo shirt, waving his arms like he is guiding a plane onto a runway. This is Robert. Officer. Over here. Thank God you're here. Robert yells, his face a mask of performative terror. He runs toward Officer Miller, ignoring the commands to stay back. She's crazy. She tried to kill me. She looked right at me and stepped on the gas. Miller puts a hand up, stopping Robert's advance. Sir, stop right there. Take a breath. Are you injured? Robert checks his legs, patting his khakis dramatically. I don't think so. I jumped out of the way just in time. She missed me by inches. Inches. You need to get her out of that car right now before she tries again. Miller looks past Robert to the SUV. The window is rolled down. A woman, Sarah, sits in the driver's seat. She isn't revving the engine. She isn't screaming. She is holding a sandwich in one hand and her phone in the other. She looks bored. This disconnect between the frantic accuser and the nonchalant suspect is the first red flag. Usually, after a near-death experience or an attempted murder, the adrenaline in the air is palpable from both sides. Here, the tension is entirely one-sided. Miller tells Robert to wait by the patrol car and approaches Sarah. The investigation begins not with a bang, but with a skeptical look. Ma'am, keep your hands where I can see them, Miller commands as he approaches the driver's side window. Sarah places her sandwich on the dashboard and rests her hands on the steering wheel. Hi, officer, she says, her voice steady. I assume he called you. Miller nods. He says you tried to run him over. Do you want to tell me what's going on? Sarah sighs, a long, weary exhale that speaks of deep frustration. I didn't try to run anyone over. I pulled into this spot to eat my lunch. He came up to my window and started screaming that my car is too big for this compact spot. It's not a compact spot. There's no sign. Miller looks at the pavement. The lines are standard width. There is no compact only signage. So, you pulled in, and he approached you? Miller asks. Yes, Sarah continues. He was standing in the empty spot next to me. He tried to block me from pulling in by standing in the way, but I was already halfway in. I stopped. He slapped my hood. I parked. That's it. Then he started screaming that I tried to kill him. The difference in the stories is massive. Robert describes an active attempt on his life. Sarah describes a parking dispute where a pedestrian inserted himself into the path of a moving vehicle. This is a classic, he said, she said, scenario, or at least, it would be in 1995. But Miller notices something mounted to the windshield of Sarah's SUV. A dashcam. And not just a front-facing one, but a dual-lens camera that records the cabin and the rear. Does that camera work? Miller asks, pointing to the device. Sarah smiles, and it's the smile of someone holding a royal flush. It records audio and video, officer. And it's been running the whole time. Officer Miller walks back to Robert. He hasn't seen the footage yet, but knowing it exists changes his entire posture. He needs to lock Robert into his story. In police work, you let the liar dig their hole as deep as possible before you hand them the shovel. Okay, sir, Miller says, activating his notepad. I need you to walk me through exactly what happened. This is a serious accusation. Attempted vehicular assault is a felony. I need every detail. Robert straightens up, emboldened. He thinks the officer is buying his story. Okay, so I was walking to my car, he lies, pointing to a sedan 3 rows away. I saw her speeding through the lot. Reckless. I put my hand up, like, slow down. She saw me, locked eyes with me, swerved toward me, and floored it. I had to dive between those 2 cars to survive. She laughed, officer. She laughed as she tried to crush me. Robert adds the detail about the laugh, to paint Sarah as a sociopath. It is an embellishment designed to evoke emotional disgust. And you were just walking to your car? Miller asks. You weren't standing in the spot? Robert shakes his head vigorously. No. Why would I stand in a parking spot? I was walking. She targeted me. She's a maniac. You need to arrest her. I want to press charges for assault with a deadly weapon. Robert is doubling down. He is committing to a version of events that is physically impossible if Sarah's story is true. He is betting his freedom on the assumption that there are no witnesses. To understand Robert, we have to look at the psychology of the hall monitor personality type. Robert is the kind of man who measures the grass height of his neighbors. He is the kind of man who times how long a delivery truck is parked in a loading zone. He derives his sense of self-worth from enforcing rules that often only exist in his own head. When Sarah pulled her large SUV into a spot he deemed too small, or perhaps a spot he wanted to save for someone else, it wasn't just a parking faux pas to him. It was a direct insult to his authority. In Robert's mind, Sarah needs to be punished. But a simple parking violation isn't a crime. So, his brain performs a rapid, malicious calculation. To get the police to punish her the way he wants, he has to escalate the stakes. He has to turn rude parking into attempted murder. This is the weaponization of the victimhood narrative. He doesn't actually feel threatened, he feels powerless. And to a narcissist, powerlessness feels like death. By calling 911 and inventing a violent crime, he is attempting to reclaim his power. He is trying to use Officer Miller as a tool to bludgeon Sarah into submission. He watches Sarah sitting in her car, calm and unbothered, and it infuriates him further. He wants to see her crying. He wants to see her in handcuffs. He wants a scene. He wants the entire shopping center to know that Robert is not a man you trifle with. This desire for spectacle is his weakness. It makes him loud, it makes him specific in his lies, and ultimately, it makes him sloppy. Officer Miller returns to Sarah's SUV. Ma'am, can you show me that footage? Sarah unmounts the camera and plugs it into her phone using a transfer cable. She pulls up the last 10 minutes. Here, she says, handing the phone to Miller. This is me entering the lot. I'm going 5 miles per hour. Miller watches the screen. The video is crisp, high definition. It shows the hood of the SUV moving slowly through the lanes. There is no speeding. There is no reckless driving. Then, the figure of Robert appears. He isn't walking to his car. He is standing squarely in the middle of the empty parking space, arms crossed, staring down the approaching vehicle. As Sarah turns her blinker on to pull in, Robert doesn't dive out of the way. He steps forward. He steps directly toward the bumper of the car. Sarah slams on her brakes, stopping a full 3 feet from him. The audio is clear. Robert yells, "You can't fit in here, sweetie. Move it." Sarah's voice is heard inside the cabin, calm but annoyed. "Sir, please move." Robert then slams his hand on the hood, thud, and steps to the side, allowing her to pull in. She parks. The engine turns off. Robert walks to the window and starts screaming. At no point does the car lurch forward. At no point does Robert dive. At no point does Sarah laugh. The entire narrative of attempted murder is a complete fabrication. Officer Miller watches the video twice. He needs to be absolutely sure. The video proves 3 things definitively. 1. Sarah was driving with extreme caution. 2. Robert intentionally obstructed traffic and initiated the contact. 3. Robert struck the vehicle, not the other way around. The victim is actually the aggressor. The crime of vehicular assault never happened. But a crime did happen. It happened the moment Robert picked up his phone and lied to a 911 dispatcher. Filing a false police report is not a joke. It is a crime that wastes taxpayer money, endangers the public by diverting emergency resources, and puts innocent people at risk of being arrested or shot. If Miller had arrived on scene and Sarah had made a sudden movement, Miller might have drawn his weapon based on Robert's lie. Robert created a deadly situation out of thin air. Miller hands the phone back to Sarah. "Okay," he says, his voice devoid of emotion. "That's very illuminating. Can you email that clip to me right now?" Sarah nods. "Is he going to jail?" she asks. Miller pauses. "We have to follow the process. But let's just say, things aren't going to go the way he thinks they are." Miller walks back toward his cruiser, his mind made up. But he isn't going to arrest Robert immediately. He is going to give him one last chance to tell the truth, or one last chance to seal his fate. Miller approaches Robert, who is now leaning against the patrol car, looking smug. "Okay, Robert," Miller says, keeping his tone conversational. "I just spoke to the driver. She has a very different version of events. She says you were blocking the spot and that you hit her hood. Are you sure, are you absolutely 100% sure, that she tried to run you over? This is the exit ramp. This is the moment where a smart person would say, well, maybe it just looked that way, or, I was scared, maybe I exaggerated." If Robert backs down now, he might get away with a warning for misuse of 911. But Robert doesn't take the exit ramp. He slams his foot on the gas. "She is a liar." Robert screams. Of course she's going to deny it. What do you expect her to say? "Yes, I tried to kill him. I am telling you the truth. I am the victim here. Why are you grilling me? You should have her in cuffs." Robert's face is turning red. He is offended that his word is being questioned. "I want her charged. If you don't arrest her, I'm calling your supervisor. I'm calling the news. I know my rights." He is throwing every intimidation tactic he knows at the officer. He is trying to bully the investigation. Miller nods slowly. "Okay, Robert. You want to press charges. You are stating, for the record, that she assaulted you with her car." "Yes." Robert yells. "For the last time, yes." "Okay," Miller says. "Turn around." The command hangs in the air for a second. Robert blinks. "What?" Turn around, Miller repeats, reaching for his handcuffs. Put your hands behind your back. Robert laughs, a nervous, confused chuckle. You're joking. You're messing with me. She's the one in the car. Robert, you are under arrest, Miller says, grabbing Robert's left wrist. For what? Robert shrieks, pulling away. I didn't do anything. I called you. You are under arrest for filing a false police report and for disorderly conduct, Miller states firmly, spinning Robert around and pushing him against the fender of the cruiser. She has a dashcam, Robert. We watched the video. You weren't almost run over. You blocked her car and slapped her hood. You lied to 911, and you lied to me. The color drains from Robert's face. The word dashcam hits him like a physical blow. The reality of the situation crashes down on him. He wasn't the director of the movie. He was the villain caught in 4K. No, the video is wrong. It's a bad angle. Robert stammers, grasping at straws. She edited it. She's a hacker. Stop talking, Miller says, tightening the cuffs. Click. Click. You have the right to remain silent. I suggest you use it. Robert does not use his right to remain silent. As Miller walks him to the back of the car, Robert transitions from shock to bargaining. Look, officer, maybe we got off on the wrong foot. I was just stressed. I've had a bad day. My blood sugar is low. Can't we just let this go? I don't want to ruin her life. You don't want to ruin her life? Miller asks, incredulous. 5 minutes ago you were demanding I arrest her for a felony. You were trying to send her to prison because you didn't like her parking. It's a little late for mercy, Robert. Miller opens the back door. The hard plastic seat awaits. This is the find out portion of the interaction. Robert resists slightly, stiffening his legs. This is a mistake. Do you know who I am? I pay your salary. And right now, you're getting your money's worth, Miller quips, guiding Robert's head under the door frame. He slams the door shut. Robert is now enclosed in a cage, staring out through the wire mesh at the woman he tried to destroy. Sarah is still sitting in her car, finishing her sandwich. She doesn't look triumphant. She just looks relieved. The ride to the station is filled with Robert's monologue. He goes through the 5 stages of grief in rapid succession. Denial, this isn't happening. Anger, you're a corrupt cop. You're working with her. Bargaining, I can make a donation to the police fund. Depression, my wife is going to kill me. Acceptance. No, Robert never reaches acceptance. He stays firmly in the victim mindset. He convinces himself that the camera is lying, that the officer is incompetent, and that the judge will see the truth. Meanwhile, back at the parking lot, Officer Miller is collecting the evidence file from Sarah. I'm sorry you had to go through that, Miller tells her. You did the right thing by staying inside your vehicle and recording. I bought that camera because I drive for work, Sarah says. I never thought I'd need it for something like this. I thought he was going to attack me when he hit the hood. He might have, Miller admits. Bullies like that escalate until they meet resistance. Today, the resistance was digital. This case highlights a critical shift in society. The he said, she said dynamic is dead. We are living in an age of objective surveillance. For honest people, this is a protection. For people like Robert, who rely on their ability to manipulate narratives, it is a nightmare. He built his entire worldview on the idea that his voice was the loudest and therefore the truest. He didn't account for the silent witness on the windshield. At the station, Robert is processed. The fingerprints, the mugshot, the removal of the belt and shoelaces. It is a humiliating ritual designed to strip away the ego. Robert, stripped of his polo shirt dignity, looks small. The bluster is gone, replaced by the cold, fluorescent reality of the booking room. The charges are read to him. Filing a false report of a felony. Disorderly conduct. Criminal mischief, for hitting the hood. The false report charge is the heavy hitter. In this jurisdiction, falsely reporting a felony is a felony itself. Robert is looking at potential jail time, a massive fine, and a permanent criminal record. All because he couldn't handle a woman parking in a spot he didn't like. During the interview, a detective tries to get to the bottom of it. Why, Robert? Why did you make up the story about the car hitting you? Robert stares at the table. She disrespected me, he mutters. She ignored me. People need to learn respect. There it is. The core of the issue. To a narcissist, ignoring them is an act of violence. Sarah's refusal to acknowledge his authority felt like a physical attack to him, so he invented a physical attack to match his emotional state. He equated his hurt feelings with vehicular manslaughter. It is a terrifying level of delusion, but one that police see every day. The footage from Sarah's camera is entered into evidence. It is damning. The district attorney reviews it and decides to pursue maximum charges. They want to make an example of Robert. Swatting and weaponizing the police are growing problems. The system is tired of being used as a customer service complaint line for entitled citizens. When Robert's lawyer sees the video, the color drains from his face, too. We need to take a deal, the lawyer whispers. We can't go to trial with this. You look unhinged. But she was rude. Robert insists. Being rude isn't a crime, Robert, the lawyer snaps. Lying to the police is. You are going to plead guilty, apologize, and hope the judge doesn't throw the book at you. Robert eventually pleads guilty. He receives 2 years of probation, 100 hours of community service, and is ordered to pay restitution to the police department for the wasted resources. He also has to attend anger management classes. The conviction means he loses his job in finance, as a felony background check is a non-starter for his firm. The domino effect of that one phone call destroys the life he carefully curated. Let's pause and analyze the weaponization of police. Robert didn't call 911 because he was afraid. He called 911 because he wanted to punish Sarah. He viewed the officers not as peacekeepers, but as mercenaries he could hire with a tax dollar. This is a perversion of the civic contract. Police are there to protect life and property, not to settle parking disputes or soothe bruised egos. When people like Robert make these calls, they are pulling officers away from real emergencies. Somewhere else in the city, a domestic violence victim, a heart attack patient, or a robbery victim waited an extra 5 minutes because Officer Miller was dealing with Robert's imaginary vehicular assault. That is the real cost of these lies. It isn't just an annoyance. It is a theft of public safety. Officer Miller put it best in his report. The suspect attempted to use the justice system as a weapon against a lawful citizen. The only weapon present on the scene was the suspect's dishonesty. Sarah, on the other hand, is a model of how to handle a male Karen. She didn't engage. She didn't roll down her window to scream back. She didn't get out of the car to fight. She stayed secure, she hit record, and she waited for the authorities. This is crucial. If she had engaged, if she had screamed insults back, Robert might have been able to claim mutual combat or disorderly conduct on her part. By doing nothing, she gave him nothing to work with. Silence is a powerful tool. Robert wanted a reaction. He wanted a fight. By denying him that, Sarah forced him to escalate his behavior until he crossed the line into criminality. She let him defeat himself. It is a lesson in the martial art of verbal de-escalation. Step aside and let the attacker's momentum carry them off the cliff. The dashcam was the shield, but her composure was the sword. Together, they dismantled a man who thought he was untouchable. Months later, Sarah still parks in that spot. She hasn't seen Robert since. The shopping center is peaceful again. But the story of her encounter went viral locally. People started buying dashcams. The Robert effect became a cautionary tale in the community. Officer Miller used the footage in a training seminar for new recruits. He uses it to teach totality of the circumstances. He teaches rookies not to just listen to the first person who speaks, but to look for the quiet person. The person who is screaming is usually the one trying to sell a lie. The person who is calm is usually the one holding the truth. In the video, there is a moment right before the arrest where Robert looks at the camera. You can see the realization in his eyes. It is the realization that the world has changed. The days of bullying your way through life with bluster and volume are over. The digital age demands receipts, and Robert showed up empty-handed. The psychological friction in this encounter was intense because it pitted two opposing forces against each other, entitlement versus evidence. Robert represents an old-school mentality where status and loudness equal authority. Sarah represents a modern reality where data equals authority. Robert couldn't process this shift. He called the police expecting a good old boy network where the officer would side with the respectable man over the woman in the car. He tried to bond with Miller, using us versus them language. But Miller, a professional, didn't bite. Miller cared about the statute, not the status. This betrayal of expectations is what caused Robert's meltdown. When the system he thought he owned turned against him, he short-circuited. It wasn't just an arrest. It was a worldview collapse. So, what have we learned? We learned that a dashcam is the best insurance policy you can buy for $50. We learned that 911 is for emergencies, not for ego trips. And we learned that false accusations are a boomerang, they come back to hit you much harder than you threw them. For anyone watching who deals with Karens or Roberts in their daily life, take a page from Sarah's book. Do not feed the trolls. Do not give them the reaction they crave. Record, report, and wait. Let them lie. Let them scream. Let them dig. The truth is patient. Robert is now a felon. Sarah is just a woman who ate a sandwich. Justice, in this case, wasn't blind. It was watching in 1080p. As the sun sets on the shopping center, life goes on. Shoppers rush in and out. Cars park and leave. It is a mundane ballet of suburbia. But underneath the surface, the rules have been reinforced. We live in a society of laws, and those laws apply to everyone, even the Roberts of the world. The video of Robert being stuffed into the cruiser ends with a shot of his shoes kicking uselessly at the door. It is a pathetic image. A man who started the day thinking he was a king, ending it as a prisoner. It is a stark reminder that freedom is fragile, and dignity is easily lost when you let your ego drive the car. We have reached the end of Robert's bad day. We watched a man try to frame an innocent woman for a violent crime, only to be undone by his own arrogance and a dashboard camera. It is a satisfying conclusion, but it leaves us with a lingering question about human nature. Robert was willing to send an innocent woman to prison just to win a parking dispute. My question to you is this: do you think the punishment for filing a false police report is harsh enough? Should people like Robert face the same jail time as the crime they falsely reported? If he claimed she tried to kill him, should he face the penalty for attempted murder? Let me know your thoughts in the comment. Do remember to hit the subscribe button, like and share this story, and I'll see you in the next one.